Hi, as the nice man said, I'm Chris Calabrese, CDT's Senior Policy Director. This is my co-host, Lisa Hayes, our Vice President of Programs and Strategy. Well, we've been given the unenviable task of asking you to quiet down. My table mates have already said they're going to make fun of me for my shushing as we go forward. But they're doing a really good job of quieting down.
I'm surprised.
Maybe it's all our excellent quieting. Obviously, you can keep communicating with each other via text or tweet or any other means you want, just not out loud. And of course, you have to use the hashtag Techprom. Also, one more reminder, we do have a dessert reception afterwards. We'll have some fun dancing tech entertainment for you and more drinks. So please do stay after and enjoy the dessert.
And I hope Chris will get us started off on the dance game. Thank you again for joining us this evening. We simply would not be in this room without the support of our generous sponsors. A full list of this evening's sponsors has been running on the screens behind me, and we are so grateful for all of your support. I'd like to take a moment to thank our platinum and our gold level sponsors. Please hold your applause till the end because there is a good list that I do want to thank. Tonight's platinum sponsors are eBay, Facebook, Google, and Microsoft. And our gold level sponsors are Amazon, Apple, Comcast, Kelly Dry, Perkins Coie, Twitter, Wilson, Sonsini, Goodrich, and Rosati, and Yahoo. Without them, we would not be here tonight. It is now my very great pleasure to introduce CDT's President and CEO, Nuala O'Connor. Who clearly needs no introduction, but I'll give one anyway. An internationally recognized expert in technology and the internet, Nuala is passionate about using the internet as an instrument of global free expression and to promote individual freedoms. Her subject matter expertise is obvious. Before taking the helm at CDT, she served as Chief Privacy Officer for the Department of Homeland Security and multiple Fortune 100 companies. But leading CDT takes more than mere policy expertise. Chris and I both joined CDT because of Nuala and her vision for the future. Nuala is strategic. She is tireless. She is relentlessly optimistic. She not only gives 110% personally, but she motivates every person on her team to do the same. She is without question the most inspirational woman I have ever worked for. With that, please join us in welcoming Nuala O'Connor.
They snuck off stage before I got to give them a hug. Good evening, everybody. It's so great to see all of you. I think we have even more here tonight than last year. The gentleman I'm about to talk to and introduce also needs no introduction. He is, as someone at our table said, the man of the hour. But I think he's a man of courage. And I think we all applaud his service and his creativity and the inspiration he has brought to his current service at the Federal Communications Commission. So we are all excited to hear what you have to say, and we are grateful for your time with us tonight. Please join me in welcoming Chairman Tom Wheeler. The way you run.
I'm afraid I would trip up the stairs.
I know, me too.
Hello, Nuala.
How you doing, Tom?
Nice party you're having tonight.
I just have a few friends over. Is
Hey,
that okay?
just a couple of friends, huh?
We're having a good time.
Well, it's great to be here.
Thank you for joining us. We're so grateful. So you've been busy.
Nah, couple. Every day at the FCC is like Sunday on the farm. you know, quiet, laid back, you know, but it's a great time to be at the commission right now.
This is the job you signed up for? Net neutrality, 2 massive mergers, spectrum auctions. Really? This is what you wanted?
Yes, absolutely. You know, I mean, how fortunate can you be to be in the middle of the greatest network revolution of the last 150 years? You know, and I know that Jessica Rosenworcel and Mike O'Reilly, my 2 fellow commissioners, are here tonight, and I think we all feel that same way, that we're incredibly blessed to be at this point in time in history. You know, it's funny. When the president asked me to take this job, I was writing another book on, this one was on networks in history. And I was operating on the thesis that there have been 4 great network revolutions in history: the printing press, the railroad, the telegraph, and now today. And all of a sudden, you get to move from looking at it academically to living it. I mean, it's a great privilege. It's a great opportunity, and these are really exciting times, as you know.
We are living the exciting times. Isn't that an old curse of some kind?
Yeah,
May
that's
you
right,
live in
exactly,
interesting
yeah.
times?
Yeah.
So you said publicly that you thought the day of the net neutrality vote was the proudest day of your career. Why is that?
Well, you know, Nuala, I mean, I guess before I answer that, I need to say one thing. I hope that it was a proud day for you and CDT as well, because the leadership that you showed, the thought leadership that you showed, and that CDT had in all this process was really important. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and I've been fortunate enough to be kicking around the policy circles for the last 40 years. And the comment I made was that it was the proudest moment of my public policy career. Because, I mean, let's face it, as we were talking a minute ago, I mean, what we're dealing with right now is the most powerful and pervasive platform in the history of our planet. And how are we going to deal with it? The exciting thing about history is watching how economics and society dealt with the changes in network technology that were affecting the very fabric of life. That's the challenge that we faced on this issue. And it makes no sense to have this incredibly powerful platform without having a set of ground rules and without having somebody on the field who can throw the flag if the ground rules are broken. And that's what we were trying to do with the Open Internet Rule, and I think we succeeded.
Anything more you want to tell us about the rule?
The problem is that I can talk about the Open Internet Rules through the main course, the dessert, and the coffee course. But you know, you probably might want to talk about something else. I don't know.
So you know that I spent most of my career in privacy, and so those of us in the privacy side of the house are a little worried about the reclassification and what that means for your relationship to the consumer and their privacy online and the FTC. Tell us more about what your thinking is.
Well, I know that Chairwoman Ramirez is here,
Right
and several other of the commissioners from the FTC. And one of the things that Chairwoman Ramirez and I have been working on is making sure that our two agencies, which frequently abut in authority, are working together. And I expect that we'll see that continue on the privacy issues. The FTC has done a terrific job dealing with privacy issues. Look, there's a little cheering section back there. But the other part about it is that we didn't just fall off the turnip truck. And you know, for the last couple of decades, the FCC has had responsibility for telecommunications carriers and privacy issues. And we take that responsibility seriously. I think that we have exercised that responsibility diligently. And now we've got the responsibility of saying, okay, in this newly structured environment, what do we do? So the first thing we're going to do is next month, we're bringing together various players. I'm sure that you'll be a part of it, to sit down and say, okay, let's begin focusing specifically in a workshop on what needs to be done post Open Internet order to deal with broadband privacy issues for the newly classified telecommunications service providers in broadband. But this is not a secondary activity or an oh by the way kind of a thing. Privacy is an important issue to us and will remain and probably grow in importance.
I think that's a good bet. So the rules, at least what we know of them, look a lot different than where we started. There are a few zigs and zags on the way. Tell us about some of the moments, the pivot moments and your influences and how you got to where you are.
Well, you know, the interesting thing about the rulemaking process is that I think that most people think of it as some kind of a rigid, turgid process, when actually it's quite fluid. And one of the things that I've tried to do ever since I came in was to say that we would not put out an NPRM that did not have a set of rebuttable presumptions in it in terms of really where we thought we were going, we wanted to be going. You know, too often NPRMs would come out and say, well, tell us what you think about. And it's hard for commenters to know where to focus. So we went on and said, hey, we think that Section 706 is a way to attack this problem and reinstate the 2010 rules. And we specifically asked the question, should Title II be used as a better alternative? I think we got an answer. And we learned a lot through this whole process. You know, you know, thanks to Gigi Sohn, who's here someplace. Wait a minute, I want to join in that applause. You know, I guess I'll say it the way I feel it. Gigi dragged me around the country to meet with various consumer groups, innovators, financiers, the public, and to engage in a dialogue. And the thing that I learned in that process, and through thoughtful filings like yours and others, is that the basis of Section 706, you know, the test of commercial reasonableness, I thought I knew what it meant. But when you start looking at putting the term commercially in front of the word reasonable, it can lead to very different outcomes. And if the interpretation of this relatively new concept was to be what is reasonable for commercial networks, rather than what's reasonable for innovators or what's reasonable for consumers, that was the wrong question and the wrong answer. And so it was based on that I started saying, well, we need to look at the just and reasonable test, which of course leads us to Title II, and combining Title II and Section 706 to have a 1-2 punch. And so, like I said, it's a very fluid process. And I think that the result of that kind of a fluid process, that kind of listening and learning, has produced a far better outcome.
That's true. So others in our community, though, are a little bit concerned, and cyber is recently reemerged as the hot word of the month. Is there going to be some kind of constraint on broadband providers' abilities to ward off cyber security threats? Are we worried about a new claim to authority under CALEA? We're concerned about, obviously, those kind of issues.
Well, let's get real specific. You know, one of the fascinating things, and you know, having spent a lot of time lobbying the FCC and the Congress, and
you did that?
one of the fascinating things that I experience almost every day is sitting in my office and remembering the times that I walked into that office and would pound the table and talk about impending doom if you didn't follow what I wanted you to do. And so I've become a bit inured when I hear the same kind of thing because for instance, one of the things opponents of open internet like to talk about was, if you're going to ban blocking, you're going to not allow us to block DDoS and other kinds of evil things that are happening. Baloney. I mean, let me be clear. Let me be clear that we're talking about protecting lawful content, okay? Not unlawful content. And that the security of our networks is right alongside the openness of our networks in terms of a priority that we should be responsible for and we should be worrying about. Insofar as CALEA is concerned, hey, you know, CALEA and I was around at the birth of CALEA. CALEA has always been a balancing act between privacy and security. I don't think anything has happened to change that.
So you've gotten really popular on Capitol Hill lately. You're going to be spending a little time up there, I think, in the committee hearings. What are the prospects for moving forward in a collaborative way with your friends on Capitol Hill?
Well, first of all, they are the Congress, okay? They write the laws. What we were trying to do was to implement the statute that Congress had given us. It is always within Congress's purview to say, hey, time out, I want to zig left instead of zag right. You know, I think that I have a good relationship with the leaders. Doesn't mean we always agree, but I think we can have open and direct conversations, which we do have. And I'm anxious to what are they interested in, where do they want to go, but at the base of things, I think that we have, in a 3-2 vote 2 weeks ago, established the gold standard for what open internet protections are all about.
So you've got 22 months left. What else are you going to get done?
Who's counting, huh?
You corrected me. I thought it was 20.
Yeah, exactly. This is true. We're sitting out here, and Nuala says, so we got 20 months left. I said, no, I have 22 months left. So I think there's a couple of things. Number one, there are 4 goals. One, unleashing the power of broadband. It's one thing to talk about broadband, but talking about broadband, is like saying railroad, 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 okay? It's what the railroad enabled that was important. And so we need to focus on what we've already started in E-rate, but we got to finish in terms of the E-rate modernization. What we've got to do in terms of making sure that there is access for those in challenging situations, whether it be in rural America or whether it be economic limitations that keep you from having access, and things like the Lifeline program. We've got to look at the evolving market in terms of over-the-top video, MVPDs, this sort of thing. We've got to worry a lot about privacy. We've got to, I have been adamant from day one that we have a responsibility to make sure that this new technology is being used to attack the challenges of Americans with disabilities, because there's new capabilities that are made available by IP, and by golly, we need to make sure that those are. So that's kind of one. That's how do you unleash. Second thing is you got to have broadband. You got to have spectrum. If the network of the 21st century is wireless, you got to have enough spectrum. We've all seen the studies about the demand and where that's going. So obviously we just finished the AWS 3 auction. We've got the first in the world incentive auction coming up next year. We've got a report and order on 3.5 gigahertz, which is going to have really high-speed wireless access. And we've got lots of things that we want to do in terms of unlicensed. So that's number 2. Number 3 in the collection is maybe you've heard competition. Competition is the consumer's best protector and the innovator's best friend. And the whole question of transitioning from analog networks to IP networks brings a whole raft of challenges there. And then the fourth issue we've already discussed, which is public safety and national security. I mean, we've got to have 911 systems that work. We just put in place a set of rules that provide for location accuracy for wireless subscribers. But you got to ask yourself the question, why is it that we're looking 6 years down the road for when these standards to go into effect, when today I can use Uber and the cab comes to my house? And so how do we have Uber 911? And so we're going to have a workshop in April where we'll be bringing various players together from the applications community as well as from the wireless community and the public safety community to talk about how do we build a standardized infrastructure with open APIs so that creative apps developers can build something that will interface with a common access to the equipment that's used at PSAPs. And so we got to think our way through all this. I mean, there's a lot. In other words, 22 months is a short period of time when we got a lot to get done.
Gonna get it all done?
Or die trying.
Well, you better get home and get to work then.
Thank you very
all
much,
for
Nuala. It's
welcoming Chairman Wheeler.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks.
so much. Great. Appreciate it. Chairman Wheeler obviously is busy and needs to get home, but we have another special guest this evening who I hope is ready to come up. Please join me in welcoming European Data Protection Supervisor, my dear friend Giovanni Buttarelli. Giovanni and I go way back, but he is one of the leading thinkers and now doers on privacy on the international stage, and he's going to preview a little bit of his agenda for 2015 and beyond. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, my dear.
My God, what a challenge. May I say it's a great honor for me to be at the CD dinner just to break the ice. Or you may prefer to call it Tech Prom. I did not make use of automatic translators via Bing or Google, but I tried to understand what it means by a European viewpoint, Tech Prom. It was particularly difficult to translate it into my native language. The result was horrible. Ballo tecnologico. Could you imagine captains of European industry being very tempted by a ballo tecnologico? So Tech Prom is a unique event in the world, and I'm really a big fan of the work of CDT. Trying to become serious, I really appreciate your efforts to leverage your understanding and passion for technology to help strengthen individual freedoms. And I'm also aware of your commitment to balance and transparency in how your activities are supported. Believe me, you are a crucial driver for positive change, and not only in the US. But where we are now, federal lawmakers are beginning to respond. For instance, with the vigorous debate around the Consumer Privacy Bill. And this is the fruit of your labor. It is, of course, also the fruit of deepening dialogue between policy makers in the EU and those here in the US. I know this is a bill in a draft form for discussion purposes. I'm run out of energies in dealing with my homework in Brussels with the EU data protection reform, so I'm sure you will forgive me if I refrain from commenting on substance. But let me say, I recognize, and not only for diplomatic reasons, and let me say, I recognize that you have now a new starting point for discussions, for conversation, for intense scrutiny, and also the prospect of a solution we can fully satisfy public expectations. This morning, Wall Street Journal quoted a sentence from myself about President Obama. I would like to slightly rectify. President Obama recently stated that privacy is a priority in this country. I fully support this statement. More recently, he also urged other countries not to use their legislative or enforcement powers to distort free exchange with US markets. Again, I would like to endorse this sentiment as well. But how my small and independent institution may be of an help? I'm not the guardian of the European Treaty, the de facto European Constitution. My independent institution, the European Data Protection Supervisor, has had the privilege of being at the heart of the transatlantic dialogue. We have been in business for about 10 years, which in the work of an EU administration makes us a startup. Dynamic such as Facebook, or, WhatsApp, but thankfully of a little interest to corporate buyout. Last week I presented the EDPS strategy for my 5 years mandate. It is a plan for tackling the global challenge which the EU is facing, but of course in partnership with people and organizations across the globe who share our concerns and values. So it's not coincidence. The day after we published our strategy, I was on a plane bound for this beautiful capital city, my third city in my life, after Rome and Brussels. But not in terms of privilege, in terms of, entity and quantity of time spent. I think we must continue our efforts in developing global privacy rules. EU and US share many values. While we are divided by an ocean of water, the differences in how we approach technological innovation are decreasing. Opinion surveys on both sides of the ocean give the lie the stereotypes people demand that the EU only regulates while the US must just let the market rule. Yes, there is excitement at the transformative power of technology, but it also needs to rebuild trust and confidence in how governments and companies make good use of the private information we entrust to them as individuals, members of online communities, of friends and families. Business and citizens want a consistent and future-oriented rule book. I was delighted last year at this event to hear Nuala quoting the philosopher Plato and saying necessity is the mother of invention. Necessity is a core concept when Europeans talk about privacy and protection of personal information. Because if you are going to intrude into someone's private affairs, you should need either their genuine agreement or very good reason. The internet is meant to be the great equalizer, but we must find also a way to explore the concentration of informational power in the hands of few. And I think that net neutrality, as the FCC has just decided, is one of these ways. A sound data protection and privacy policy is surely another one. Silicon Valley has been the undisputed leader in digital innovation and entrepreneurship, thanks to the way it has attracted talent from around the world. We need to support and promote this sort of innovation. We need to shape big data analytics, the Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, so that they work better for us, for human beings, not the other way around. But I'm not here to preach about the virtues of another country's legal tradition based on reaffirming well-known fundamental rights and freedoms. Europe is not paradise. On the contrary, I'm here to say that I want to open a new deal on data protection and privacy, where the principles and rights are made more effective in practice without wasteful bureaucracy. A new chapter where we focus only on dynamic safeguards, robust enough to fit into the big data world. A world where we make these principles simple, user-friendly, and more readable. So easier privacy, but not pseudo-privacy. This is why last year my institution has launched a platform for dialogue and cooperation between privacy experts, academia, technology developers, civil society to embed privacy in engineering. And I would like to build on this successful partnership. So around the world of communications and IT, the tectonic plates are shifting. People demand more control over their information and what happens to it. We are lucky. 2015 is going to be a big year. Europe, OECD, Council of Europe are modernizing their rules. Brazil and Japan, too, are approaching a new framework. And it's a discussion very interesting. We are not just consumers of goods and services. My view is that the dignity of future generations will need protecting. And I would like to pay, during my mandate, more attention to ethics, to identify, of course, pragmatic and workable solutions, but solutions which are also morally tenable, not only technically feasible. We are citizens to whom governments are meant to be more accountable. A few days after the Charlie Hebdo attack in Paris, millions took the street to reaffirm our values. And our common response must be to protect freedoms, not chip away at them. Technology should enable democratic governments to be smarter in preventing and prosecuting crimes by targeting effectively those individuals from whom there is an objective reasons to respect, not by excessively collecting information on what everyone is doing, saying, and thinking. I said Europe is not paradise. We face now in Europe with big questions about the necessity and proportionality of, for instance, passenger name records, mandatory retention of communication data, and smart borders. I really hope we will learn from previous experiences to focus on measures which are effective and less questionable from a fundamental right viewpoint. You, ladies and gentlemen, in this room have not only the technical expertise, but also the political influence to change society for the good. As said, I'm not the guardian of the European Treaty, but as an emissary from the European privacy community of independent regulators this evening, I feel like we are building a global partnership on questions which will affect our children and our grandchildren. So, Nuala and all others, thank you very much for the opportunity you are giving me today in what is an historic moment, a moment where we have a tremendous opportunity, an opportunity to bring our values, privacy, data protection, and also security into the digital age. Thank you for your attention.
Well, thank you all so much for joining us and for being a part of the CDT community. A special thanks to Chairman Wheeler, his team, and Giovanni and his team, and my team at CDT. Yay. Not quite done yet, though. Thank you to our board, chaired by Professor Deirdre Mulligan, and our beloved founder, Jerry Berman. Jerry, where are you? Say, stand up. This time last year at Tech Prom, I had been on this job for 6 weeks. I'd been asked to think about the shape and the pace of change for this organization for the future, and it has changed, and it has changed me as well. So for a quick year in review, we turned, of course, to the interwebs, and it proved that 2014 was a great year for the free and open internet. I promised last year we would run hard and we would get a lot done. The team has started to mock my responses to their emails, which pretty much in response to any questions say 3 words: go, go, go. And go we did. As our 2 guests noted, we were at the center of the action and the dialogue on shaping the future of the internet. And the CDT team played a large role in a number of this year's most important conversations in the US, in Europe, and elsewhere. We now have the open internet rules that many of us wanted, so that the internet is an enabler of not only innovation, but the individual. We pursued mass surveillance reform and the end to bulk data collection. The reason for the lackluster applause is that ECFA reform and the passage of USA freedom have not yet happened, but these are issues that we will not give up on, and these goals and bigger ones will be accomplished. CDT is committed to shaping a digital world that promotes human dignity and digital autonomy. The reality of that world simply cannot be that our most intimate details, our most private thoughts and expressions and conversations are collected, stored, and shared with the government. We continue to keep a clear focus on the multi-stakeholder process for internet governance. And we remain a steadfast voice for protecting free expression online, speaking out against laws and practices that would limit the dissemination of speech and of thought. And as everyone in this room knows, 2015 is off to a busy start. We are seeing movement and momentum around privacy legislation in this country as never before, including the long-awaited Privacy Bill of Rights. And for those of us who have worked in privacy for decades, it is an amazing time to be here at this place in the dialogue. And the word cyber is back in the headlines, and new cybersecurity protections are important, but they cannot be used as a rationale for more surveillance and greater erosion of personal freedom. CDT will be at the forefront of all of these issues, and we plan on a few new ones as well. We want to address all of the issues that shape the lives of humans in the always-on world. We're exploring the responsible use of algorithms to advance civil liberties rather than limit our choices and our knowledge. We're tackling all aspects of digital life, right up until what happens to you when you die. And we've brought a new focus to our health privacy work, including my favorite devices, our wearables, our non-regulated health space. And to do this, we are expanding. I am incredibly proud and excited about our international work, our international growth, our expanding Brussels office, and our work in the International Courts of Human Rights. We are building a new West Coast office, engaging technologists and startups in the policy dialogue. And yes, in 2015, we will be even more active, more visible, and have more impact than ever. And just as we advocate for a world where technology is informed by diverse, inclusive experiences and values and voices, we are building a team at home that reflects those values inside the organization and out. Since I've started, little old CDT has added 17 new staff members, and I am proud that tonight CDT is, for I think the first time, 50-50 male-female. This is a team that gets out and practices its advocacy in the United States, in Europe, and around the world. And they say that they learned getting out from me. I don't know that that's true. But with all that I've done this year, the thing that I am the proudest of is growing a healthy, vibrant workplace and a team of simply the best minds in technology policy. I want to invite them all up to the stage, and they were supposed to be on the way up already, people. There they are. This is CDT 3.0. Faster. Go, go, go. Come on, look at me. These are the people shaping our digital future and fighting to protect your civil liberties. These are the people fighting to advance democratic values in our digital world. They are funny, passionate, driven, irreverent, and brilliant. They go, go, go every day, and they amaze me with their creative solutions to the world's toughest policy problems. CDT will continue to pave the way on the most pressing problems facing technology in the years ahead, and it is your support that makes our work possible. We thank you. Thank you, guys. You can go. Thank you. All right, you guys are on. Thank you, guys.
Yep.
Yeah, we're back.
You're doing great. We're almost done. So beyond the CDT staff, we're delighted to have many members of our board of directors join us this evening. Would all members of the board please stand so we can recognize you? Thank you.
And could I invite our two newest board members, Erica Rottenberg and Andrew Pincus, to please join us on the stage to give closing remarks.
Thank you, Nuala, and thank you to everyone here for coming to tonight's dinner to support the great work that CDT is doing. Tonight's event was rightfully focused on CDT's mission, the mission of achieving a global, free, and innovative internet for everyone at every corner of the globe. The importance of an That's fine. Hey, we can applaud that. The importance of an organization like CDT has never been more paramount. Andy and I and the rest of the board had the opportunity to lunch with the CDT team. Their raw smarts, their deep passion, and unparalleled knowledge of core internet policy issues was so clear, and the energy was so infectious. We believe that this team is poised to help us make a significant advance in achieving a free, open, and innovative internet. I joined the board because I believe the internet represents the greatest hope for ending global poverty, because connectedness provides access to education and knowledge. It enables economic growth, and it ultimately is our greatest promise for world peace. But it must be accessible, open, and free, which in many parts of the world, including here at home, it isn't. And Andy and I both look forward to helping CDT and you achieve these core democratic values. So whether it's tackling these issues or the issues that Nuala and Chairman Wheeler addressed, or devising cross-border solutions to data privacy and surveillance issues that Supervisor Buttarelli discussed, the CDT team are thought leaders and will facilitate and lead the tough conversations, the conversations that will craft these solutions and achieve the mission. But CDT isn't just a thought leader. It is the forward-looking center of the technology policy dialogue. It's a place where the right and the left, where the industry and government, private sector and civil society, advocates and technologists come together constructively to find common ground and workable solutions. It's a rarity in today's world.
I first met many of you in the late 1990s when the Clinton administration was focused on what it called electronic commerce policy. And CDT was there providing sensible policy recommendations that were grounded in the reality of the technology. Today, of course, as people have said, the number of policy issues is exponentially greater. The importance of getting technology policy right is even stronger because of the impact on every aspect of our lives. And the plain fact is, the wonderful people who you just saw need more resources than ever to do the job we want them to do. This dinner helps, but unfortunately it's not enough. So we're doing something tonight that we've never done before. Before we wrap up the program, and we'll go have some great dessert and more drinking, and then dancing after there's a lot more drinking. Yeah, right. We'd like to ask each of you to make a contribution in some amount to CDT. Everyone has one of these cards. It was on your seat. It's probably on your table, or you're sitting on it right now. Pick it up, fill out the card, and just give something, large or small, hopefully more large than small, to help ensure that CDT is able to advocate for you the way it has been doing, given the challenges that it faces. Once you fill out the card, there'll be people raising their hands near the exits. Give it to them, and then go have a great time. The challenges are not going away. Tech policy is getting harder, and there's no organization that we'd rather see be the leading voice than CDT. So thank you for your generosity, and please join us back where the opening reception was for drinks, desserts, and dancing, courtesy of the Entertainment Software Association. And thanks again for coming, and see you all next year.